Well, good morning, folks. It's Richard Gene the Fishing Machine here. You know, fall is here. And with it brings a lot of different techniques that'll put crappie in your boat. But one of my favorite, especially right now during the turnover, and we'll talk about the turnover right here in just a second, that I like to use, technique that I like to use is skipping under docks. And the reason why it's so effective right now is the lake is turning over. And what that means is, let's just put it in a simple way, the shad that were deep in the summertime are now on top of the water. They're close to the surface. And what happens is these shad will migrate up on the shallow flats where boat docks are, anywhere from 3 to 6 feet of water, usually. And they'll be a couple feet under the surface. They'll come up and stay up in the upper part of the water column. Why are there so many crappie under docks right now? Well, those crappie that were deep, where those shad were, are now up shallow, up under those docks. They're relating under those docks because it's the only available cover in shallow water on the flats. Now, another interesting fact is these little shad, and I'm talking about inch and a half shad, about the size of the baits that we're going to be throwing, like this baby baller Z, will get in and around these boat docks. So these fish has perfect cover, structure, and they have the availability of food that they need. And when you present this bait up under that shade where those crappie are, well, it can be fish after fish after fish. Now, on this particular trip right here, I probably caught 80 crappie, folks. Only a few keepers, but a lot of fish are pulling up shallow right now. All right, let's talk about tackle. Now, tackle's important, but I've always stressed this as a fact, folks. Use what's comfortable to you. Now, I'm going to show you another great thing to do. Usually I use monofilament line, 4-pound test high-vis line, but you can use high-vis braid if you want to. Braid skips a bait real well. Now, I'm not going to say that braid will skip it better than mono, because if I said that, I believe I'd be saying a lie. But braid will get that bait back up in there where it needs to be, way back, providing you got a long, limber rod like this one. A light action rod that has a real flexible tip is going to do the job. But remember, when you're using braid for crappie, always set your drag very lightly. So on the hook set, that drag will slip easy. Because if you don't, you're going to rip a gash into that crappie's mouth. Braid, as y'all know, has no stretch at all. None whatsoever. It's just there. And that's the reason why I don't really use braid a whole lot for crappie. Just certain baits I will. Like underspins, I will. But under docks, I usually don't. But if you do, make sure your drag's set light. Okay, and make sure you don't set the hook very hard. Okay, matter of fact, really the best hook set is not a hook set at all. Just go to reeling when you get bit. And of course, I rig mine weedless. That's a 40-pound test weed guard that I rig all my baits up with, and I do that myself. I have a video which you can watch based on that, and it's very important when you're skipping docks, because I can't afford to buy 5 of them for $5 or $6, but I can buy a 50 pack of 1/32 of an ounce and make my own for hardly nothing. There's a big difference right there, folks, in my opinion. Go with me and let's see what we can do. Stay around with the old man. Hey man, let's catch a crappie. Whoa! When the water temperature is 80 degrees and you're talking about crappie, repetitive cast is real important. And I believe I've mentioned that before, but I'm going to really stress that because a lot of times you have to make cast after cast after cast. If you see, I know there's some crappie under here. Now it's my job as an angler to get them to bite. And the way I'm going to do that is by fishing slow, precise, and patiently. Very patiently. I'm going to have to come by that crappie just in a so-so way to get that strike. They're not active right now. So I'm going to have to tease them. I'm going to have to hand feed them. And that's crappie fishing a lot of the times, is it not? These fish can be very, very finicky at times, especially in hot weather, hot water conditions. So let's get that bait back up under there. But I'm just fishing around 2 feet deep. This is a 4 foot deep dock. So I'm fishing around 2 feet, about halfway. I do that on docks. If I'm fishing a 6 foot dock, I try to keep my jig around 3 feet. Usually that just seems to work. Crappie feed up. And so that's just a high percentage way to think about it. 8 foot dock, well, 4 feet deep. So on and so forth. That's just a rule of thumb. And it don't really matter what the water clarity you're dealing with either. If it's real clear water where the fish are on deep docks, 12, 14 foot docks, well, just do the same thing. Fish halfway. That's a good place to start. I'll put it that way. There he is. Come on out there, boy. Come on out of there. Well, y'all see that? He jumped like a bass right there. That ain't a bad fish right here. Matter of fact, that's a keeper. Let's put him in the boat. That's a big crappie, really. That's what we're looking for right there, folks. Good eating size fish right there. That's about an 11-inch crappie, black crappie, who hit a baby baller Z, a Z-man bait, a bait that I'm getting more and more fond of. Every time I throw it, it's just, I'm catching a lot of fish on this bait. Let's put this one in the bucket. We're going to keep a few to eat. I'm fish hungry. There he is. Golly, come out there. That fish thumped it. I mean, he thumped it. Come on in here, boy. He just ain't big enough. Doggone it. Today ain't a... Not unless I really find me some fish, folks. As far as numbers, I'm catching the fire out of fish. And getting some good practice in, but they just ain't got no size. Let's try that again. That fish hammered that bait. I mean, he knocked the fire from it. And there's another one. But it's the same story. Golly bum. Well, there's one thing about it. And I've said this before. It's good practice. It's good practice. These fish are basically, today, the way they're biting is they're hitting it on the fall, the initial fall after the cast. That's what's going on. See, I'm just letting it fall, letting it fall, letting it fall, and I missed that crappie. Of course, I missed about a 7-inch crappie or 8-inch crappie. Not a very big one at all, but let's try that again. They're just loaded back there. I didn't get quite far enough back there. They're in one little spot, just like we've always been talking about, folks. That's how it is on the dock. That's the reason it's important to fish all the way around the dock, so you can find that little area that they're in. This is real important. I don't just fish the real shaded part of the dock, even though that is going to be high percentage. when it comes to crappie fishing or bass fishing, as far as that goes, when the sun's out. That's going to be your #1 place to focus on. But a lot of times they'll be in other areas. So what I'll do is fish all the way around the dock. Because the fact of the matter is this, folks, usually the fish will be grouped up in an area that's not going to be any bigger than this right here. They'll just stack up real tight and together. There could be as many as 4 or 5 fish together like that. That could be as many, and as the water gets colder, they'll group up tighter and more of them. But right now, there's just going to be a few together. Right now, they're just really starting to bite a little bit. There's another one. Sometimes they'll get it in their mouth, sometimes they won't. Now that one's a little bit better. Not much, but a little bit. But there's no telling how many fish is up under here. I mean, it's a sight. When you're catching that many fish like that, there's no telling as to how many. That's a hard little deal to get. They're right there to get to. And these fish are around 3 feet deep too. So the pattern's being about, oh my goodness, about 3 feet deep. I can't stand it when I miss fish like that. And if I'd brought me some smaller jigs, this is where the little 1-inch jig would come in. You could catch them on every single cast. Okay, so I've caught a few from that angle, so let's move from this angle. So that's 3 different angles. And then to keep them biting is what it'll do. I missed them. It'll keep them biting. We'll catch one right here. Yeah. Come here, boy. Getting a little better. Now that one completely ate it. So that's the angle right now. That's going to work, folks. But that's 3 different angles. Y'all seen it. That worked. Once I quit hitting it from one angle, I just change angles and continue catching fish. And that is crappie fishing. Let's let him go. Now next year he'll be big. Crappie, they grow quick. That's a trick that works. Either that, change angles, or boat positioning, or change colors. Either way, it'll work. It'll get you a few more bites. See, like right there, it's just a shame. You talking about somebody dragging some fish out from under a dock. Now, I am. Oh, they're so feisty. This dock right here is in 6 feet of water right here, folks. And I changed to a little different color right here because the water clarity has changed. I've moved to a different part of the lake. Let's try some of these 6-foot docks, 5 and 6 foot docks. This one right here don't have any cover under it, but it don't make any difference. It's got enough post, it's got enough shade, it's got everything that it needs to hold a fish. And I make multiple casts. If I really think a crappie's in the area or should be, I'll make several casts before I just give up. There's one. There we go. Yep. Look at there. That's what I'm talking about. It took multiple casts for me to be able to catch this fish. Now maybe I've got some fish fired up over there. That one ain't too bad. That ain't too bad. Ain't no giants. Giants ain't biting right now. The water's still a little bit hot. Every once in a while you'll catch a good one, but that's a black crappie. Let's let him go. Let's try it again. There's some more fish there, folks, I guarantee you. Just a steady wind. There we go. Now I'm going to tell you, I had 2 or 3 nips right there. Y'all probably didn't see my line flinch before this crappie committed. Now what I did, I was reeling it in a steady retrieve, which is my favorite, and I stopped it. Let it fall just a little bit. After feeling those nips, and this fish went ahead and committed. He was behind it, evidently, nipping that little ball on that jig. Just let him go. Then when I stopped it, he run into it. He didn't have no other, he had to hit it. He was on its trail. And all of a sudden it stopped. Let's try that again. Okay, we're at the depth. I'm going to reel it. Now I'm going to kill it right there. Reel it and then kill it. Oh, I missed one right there, folks. There's still some fish there. Let's try her again. There he is. It worked again. Too bad, though, they're not giants. This time last year, this is a carbon copy of what happened to me last year. I'm catching a lot of crappie. I mean a bunch of them, but none of them's too much size to them. This is the same thing that happened last year. Let's let him go. But the fish are there, but I'm having to make them trigger now. But keeping it at that depth, the depth where the fish are active, is key right here. I'm going to stop it now. Reel it, stop it. These fish is probably around 5 feet deep. Crappie feet up, so I'm keeping that jig around 3 feet. You don't have to go far to hit it. If he wants it, he can just come on and get it. So I just what I'm saying is I fish slightly above the fish. We went over, we saw big old fish in there, and there were 6, 7 of them doggone fish right there in there. And I said, you know what I'm talking about. There's one. Golly, I just had made a, that's a good crappie right here. I just had skipped up under that frame with those jet skis. Come on in here. Look here, what a crappie. My goodness, that's what I've been wanting to catch. Golly, that's a big one, folks. My. Look at there, what a pretty fish. I'm tempted to keep him, but I'm not going to. Let's just let him go. I tell you, I believe crappie's a lot better eating when the water cools off. But ain't that a beautiful fish? Man, he nailed that jig. Let's see if we can do that again. My goodness, sometimes I'll bend down and like this, or I do it a lot, and I'll look at it and see what we got. See where those posts are. See if I see a tree or a big old cedar tree or something sticking out of the water. Just kind of get a visual of what I'm fishing. There's one. Oh my. Get out from under there. Boy, this is a good crappie right here, folks. Look here what a slab. My goodness. Now, I forgot to tell y'all now. He's barely hooked. Let's put him in the boat. That is a big son of a gun right there. That's a big one. I don't have a net. Don't have a net at all. And I set the hook just a little bit too hard. Y'all can see where I ripped his lip. Right there. That's the drawback. That's the thing about braid that I don't like. But for some reason, my drag didn't slip. It's tightened up on me. I did have it adjusted perfect, but you got to watch that. That's why y'all see me tinkering around with my drag all the time. I don't want to lose a fish. That's a good crappie. That's a good doggone fish. I want to say God bless each and every one of y'all. Thank y'all for all the great comments. Hey, man, everything y'all do for this channel. Love each and every one of you. Hey, woo. And remember, go fishing when you can. Fuck all this good food.